Okay, so today I have brought back Jenny. Jenny, who I had on a couple months ago. Was it 3 months ago?
It seems like it was quite a long time ago,
Two,
actually.
2 or 3 months ago, and I said that she was going to come back because we have a list, the 23 frugal living tips from the Great Depression that you need to know to save a ton of money. And she said she learned all of these tips from her
From
grandparents,
my parents, yes, and
from
my
her
grandparents.
parents.
Hmm.
Okay, and so she is here to go over the list because it was just 23 things, which takes longer than we had last time. So, welcome back, Jenny.
Thank you for having me, Amy.
Yay! So, tip number one on the list is making your own cleaning products.
Yes. I think this is just not so much for being frugal or sustainable, but also for your health. There's so many different things that they put in our products these days that are just unhealthy for us. So we try to use vinegar, baking soda, and if you really want that smell, you can put essential oils in there. So we have always done that. We clean our drains with baking soda and vinegar. And baking soda is a natural um, abrasive, so it's like a comet, but it's natural.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Well, and you're the one that taught me about putting yeast down your toilet for your
that's
septic.
yeah,
um, as well. Super cool tips. Yeah, and I do I do the I don't even do baking soda, but for like the greasy stuff around my kitchen, I do baking
yeah.
soda and vinegar. But like vinegar and water, I definitely do. Um, there are some things that it's very hard for cleaning, but I work really hard.
Yeah,
Boys are hard to clean up after. If it was just me, it would be easier.
that's true. That's very, very true. Hmm.
Okay, tip number two, learn basic sewing skills.
This is, I think, one of the larger things that we really can do to help ourselves is, um, you know, what happens when you need to sew on a button? Do you throw that away? Do you just throw something away if you don't know how to do it? It's important for us to be able to repair our own clothing. And so as a small child, I was taught how to use a sewing machine. I learned on a Trendle sewing machine. That's one of those sewing machines that you use your feet on.
Like both
And
feet. Like a
both
pedal?
feet,
Oh my
you
gosh.
go, yep, both feet. And so that's where I learned how to sew. And from there, though, I was able to do my own drapery. I'm able to do my own pillows. And so I decorate as well. So all of those skills that I was taught has been able to save me tons of money by being able to make custom drapery for myself.
Hmm. Wow. And for those of you watching this on YouTube, if you see that green in the background of Jenny's place, it's such a great green.
Uh,
She is also a decorator, and she does such a nice job. Um, yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm a newbie. I can sew buttons,
that's a good
and
thing.
if my sewing machine works, I can sew a straight line.
We all have those tension issues with our sewing machine, know that.
And that is 100% my problem. I actually had
Yep.
my cousin's daughter was here from the UK in July, and she was just my guest a couple weeks ago on the podcast, and she she went to school to make sets, and so she's a sewing machine. She does sewing stuff, and so she was looking. She came from the UK and she was working on my sewing machine. But
Oh,
so she figured out that it was the tension that I was because I was trying to sew patches on my jeans to cover up holes.
yeah.
And every time I would do it, it would get all bunched up, and I could not figure out for the life of me what was going. I was like, did I fill the bobbin wrong? Like, what am I doing wrong? And she said it was the tension. So I haven't tried it again since, but I will when I have more time. Um, uh,
A tension issue.
yeah, that's pretty common, huh?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Does it does it depend on like the thread? Like if you're using a thicker thread or a thinner thread, the tension is going to need to be changed. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But what happens is when we just kind of store our sewing machines in the closet, things kind of move, get bumped.
Oh,
And
like
then
if it
we,
hasn't been touched for 10 years, then it.
that could very well be it. Yeah. And
Mm,
they have to also, the dust is not your sewing machine's friend. So you should
mm.
really have a cover on it.
I'll have a cover on it.
Yeah.
It was a brand new sewing machine. It just was never used. Okay, cool. Good to know. All right. Tip number 3, grow your own produce.
Grow your own produce. And also I learned as well, what they've taught me is you always grow some for the animals and some for a neighbor. If I think that you have the garden, I'm sure, I don't know if you've had any animals get into your garden yet and eat part of it, but it does happen. So we just prepare for the future. And it's always nice to share with other people. One of my large things, I have a tiny farm stand. And one of my goals was really to just make sure that we had local produce that was attainable for anybody who wanted it,
Mm-hmm.
regardless if they could afford it or not. So I wanted to introduce things that most people sometimes don't even know about or don't even try or eat, and teach them how to eat all this wonderful vegetables that we have here in the state of Maine.
Yeah, I know I grabbed a Swiss chard when I was there because I can't resist Swiss chard. But when I was there also, you had the most beautiful cauliflower.
Mm. I do really well growing. It's like everybody has like their certain niche that they can grow well. I can grow cabbage, cauliflower, and eggplant. Those are I do really well in those areas.
That's amazing. And you do a different type of gardening than most. And
Hmm.
I'm not even going to attempt to say it.
Yeah, it's called Frugal culture, and it's a German method of building the ground from the ground up. So we use rotted wood. So we go out in the woods, we get logs, we put that in it, and then we start layering it with twigs, grass clippings, leaf mold, and compost. And we just keep layering it up, and it becomes its own little system. So you don't have to water it, and it's constantly feeding itself.
Hmm, cool. Uh, so it so there are like organisms that are feeding it, like it's
Yep.
just eating from underneath. That's cool.
Yep.
And now I see so many people that are growing the Hugo culture, are using like those steel.
We've built our own raised beds. My husband's a disabled veteran, so he has a lot of different mobility issues. So it was very, very difficult. I couldn't necessarily do things like in the ground. Plus, we have a lot of deer where we live. So we came up with a system where we built raised beds using galvanized roofing
Mhm.
and cedar on the outside of them. And then that's how we fill them up from the ground up.
Hmm. Okay. And it seems pretty common for a lot of people that are doing that or growing raised beds anyway. These days I'm
Yeah.
seeing a lot of the galvanized outer
Right.
parts at least.
Right. And I just want to add, a lot of times people are really they have some fear about that galvanized leaching out. And there was a woman who I watch, and she does all organic gardening as well. And she actually had her soil tested, and they do put a coating on it. There is no leaching from that metal into the soil. And so sometimes we have to really be careful when we build raised beds. Sometimes people don't know better. They do it with pressure treated wood, which is a huge no-no, because that's arsenic and it's going into your food.
Oh my
So you
gosh.
just kind of want to know what you're building with when you do start your build.
Right. I'm sure they're thinking it's not going to rot right away, but there's a whole other part of that you're not thinking about.
Right.
Oh my goodness, there's a lot to it. But that's really cool. I mean, because you're also using scraps when you're doing the hugelkultur.
Yep.
How did I do?
Yep. You did it excellent.
Cool.
Yeah.
Um, awesome. Okay, cool. And then so number 4 tip is learn to preserve your garden produce.
Yep. So we just don't can our food. We freeze our food. I have a dehydrator. I dehydrate. I freeze. And so it's important to learn how to gather your harvest as well. So a lot of times people have things, apple trees at their home that they're not utilizing. I know that you recently is me as well. We allow people to come and pick our apples, so we could barter with other people, which is a good thing.
Mhm.
And I pick wild blueberries, I pick wild blackberries and raspberries to make jam with. So we try to preserve as much as we possibly can. I try not to let too much go to waste. It's okay because squirrels and deer eat all that if you don't get to it, but I try to utilize as much as I possibly can.
Yeah. Um, yes. And to that point, somebody else had said to me, we had, oh my gosh, we had a groundhog that had 4 babies this past year. And my husband was beside himself.
Yeah,
I mean, I was worried, but they were very cute, and it's hard to be mad. But
yeah,
just worried about all the vegetables that we were planting and stuff. And I had put out a post. I was like, "What am I supposed to do about this?" And somebody said, "You just have to plant extra.
that's it.
Um,
Yeah,
you just have to plant extra." And so
yeah.
that's it's good to hear. It's from other people. It's like that means it's true.
Well, you have to prepare for it because it's inevitable.
You can't help everything. You can't stop everything from happening.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so curing it. So on the list it says curing, freezing, drying, dehydrating, fermenting. And I know you
Oh,
ferment because you do
yeah,
sauerkraut.
I do. Every year, in March, when St. Patrick's Day is coming along, you will see huge sales at the grocery store on organic cabbage, where you won't be able to ever buy an organic cabbage for 3 cents a pound. So I buy a ton of it. I go ahead and I ferment for my whole entire year. I ferment it, and then come when my cabbage comes in. I normally make pigs in the blanket, what people is cabbage rolls, and I have a large party and I invite people again who maybe aren't used to eating homemade sauerkraut. That's their number one thing, is they're like, oh, they're not really quite sure about it, but it's pretty yummy once you get, used to it, and it's very, very healthy for you. So,
Mm,
yep, I do love to ferment.
that's cool. Do you ferment other things?
Just, I wouldn't say, they would consider pickles fermenting. So I do all that sort of pickling as well.
Hmm. Okay. I fermented my first pickles this year. I don't know that I'm sold.
Oh, okay.
I fermenting for me is weird. I maybe I did it right. I'm not really sure if I did it right or not. And that's part of the thing for me, that I feel like I need somebody who's done it before to be like, yeah, that looks right. To like stand over and look at it and say that looks right, or that's totally not right. You need to start over. Because I don't know. It's like whitish. And then
What is whitish?
the liquid, the
The,
brine,
br- the brine is white.
and then the pickles have a little bit of white on them. But like if I rinse them off, they taste okay. I
So
just don't
you've
know.
eaten, well, if you're alive, then it worked.
Yay.
Yeah, that's the good news.
Oh my gosh. um, yeah, it's scary. It's scary to me,
Hmm.
fermenting. Anyway, um, okay. So, yeah, and that is, it's harvesting is one thing, eating is one thing, but then preserving is so important.
Yeah,
Um, because you can't eat it all right now. Because
that's
if you're gardening, it's all coming in at once.
right.
Um, and you can't even just harvest it all at once. It's so much. Um, and then so you just need to preserve it in batches. Anyway, so tip number 5, grow your own herbs.
Yep, it's another really important thing is to grow, the herbs we have in the grocery stores for the most part have been processed and they've been sitting on the shelf for many, many years. And it's very easy to dry your own herbs, even if you don't have a dehydrator, but it's just to hang them upside down and then put them in nice glass jars. And you have so much from that harvest that once again, you could share with your neighbors very easily and have enough herbs for 2 years. So you're going to use that throughout all of your gardening. So everything that you've harvested, to have a whole meal that you've used all your herbs with and everything you've, got out of the garden is pretty rewarding.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, herbs I've had better luck with than my vegetables this year. My sage did really, really well. So yeah, I actually harvested, I had like 6 different sage plants.
Wow.
That's crazy. And they were huge. And so I harvested them and I brought them to one of my herbalist friends. I was like, here you go.
Nice. Nice. Yeah.
I can't use anywhere near any enough of that to make it worthwhile. So yeah, and there's nothing quite like making a meal and going out to the garden to snip a few,
Right. Absolutely.
And the smell is, there's also nothing like that. Like walking through and, brushing your hand through the garden and, I especially love dill. Dill is my favorite one.
Dill is my favorite too.
Yes. All right. Number 6, cook homemade meals whenever possible.
Yeah, I think that's really important that, we do live in a culture where a lot of people are working full-time jobs and it is difficult to make a meal. We always make one large pot of something that we can eat multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And we also, if I make a pot roast, I immediately will split it. So I know that I'm going to have some soup made out of that, the rest of that. And so, we live in a fast nation where we have fast food, we have fast fashion, in fast food, hey, there is a place and a time for that. I'm not going to say that there isn't, but it's just the prepackaged stuff. If you can open up a package, you can make a home cooked meal. And so I always try to do that whenever I possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And on to go in that same thread, number 7, make food from scratch.
Your yogurt, your granola, your ricotta cheese, all of those things, you can start somewhere. And if you don't know how, ask somebody. There's a lot of people out there who are doing this already that would love to show other people how to do it.
Yeah. For sure. I need someone to show me how to make breads. I suck at bread so much. But I do make muffins. And yogurt, actually. I tried, yeah. I thought I could make yogurt, and then it just started getting soupy, and James was not eating it, and then it got wasted, and I stopped. But, yeah. Anyway, but I got jam down.
I heard that you got jam.
I got jam down. And I can do peanut butter. You know what is really good? Pecan butter.
Oh, that's I've never even thought of that. That sounds really yummy.
It's very, very hearty. Yes. Okay. Tip number 8, substitute meat with cheaper protein sources.
Beans, legumes. I mean, tuna used to be one of the go-tos, but even tuna is becoming a little bit pricey. But just substituting a couple meals during the week with beans could have first of all, it's really, really healthy for you. And it's a real money saver.
Yeah. I've been following a bunch of I'm like, I guess I'm vegan curious, but I've been following a bunch of vegan accounts, and the meals just look so beautiful and
They just,
just like super hearty looking with the like lentils and noodles and stuff like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I could totally do
yeah,
that. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it just is. It seems easy enough. It seems like
yeah,
it should be easy enough.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Tip number 9, make use of kitchen scraps.
Whenever possible, I save all my bones, no matter what you know what I mean? And I make soup out of everything or stock out of everything. We reimagine our leftovers. So you could have, let's say, a pot roast one day, and you take the leftovers, you can add it to your spaghetti sauce, you can make soup out of it. If we have leftover bread, the very ends, I never throw away bread. I freeze that bread and then I'll make all my own homemade croutons out of that. We save bacon grease and we use it for our potatoes. I also, after I've made bacon in the oven, I make my biscuits in that bacon fat. So there's so many ways to, yeah, that's really honestly pretty yummy. So
Oh
many ways
man.
to be able to really reimagine things that we normally throw away. Um, and of course, like eggshells, we use them, we put them back in our coop. We also use them in our garden. And so I think it's just reimagining our kitchen waste. And I know, I've read that here in America that we throw away more food than anywhere else in the world. And I've made it a point where I do belong to a zero food waste program here in my town. And a part of that is if we have something left over and maybe we didn't really care for it, right? Like we made a banana cream pie and we have no business, my husband and I, eating a whole banana cream pie. We'd like to eat a whole banana cream pie. So I had just reached out to a family that's on there and asked them if they would like, a half a pie. And they were like, I'd love a half a pie. So they drove over and got a half a pie.
Nice.
Uh, just finding somebody who maybe there's a single person, maybe there's an elderly person. We made sure that we have people in our community that we can share our meals with so we never throw anything away.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah,
Wow. Cool. Um, okay. Now, do you, okay, on the list, there's a picture of banana peels, and I keep seeing that people use banana peels to fertilize their plants. You save your banana peels and you put them in water.
I don't, but I have put my banana peels underneath my hydrangea bushes and my rhododendrons. And just bury them.
Oh,
Just dig,
okay.
just dig a little hole, bury them right alongside of it to bring the nutrients and potassium back into the earth.
Okay.
But I do not do that. No,
Okay. All right. Cool. Because I'm like, I cannot have my house smelling like rotten bananas.
no, I'm totally with you.
Oh my gosh. And where would you keep that?
Right.
Okay, cool. But citrus peels, totally. Like citrus peels in vinegar
Yeah.
to make cleaning solutions. Absolutely. But bananas, whew, my gosh. That's a good idea, though. Just bury it in the ground underneath. Hydrangeas and what else did you say? Azalea? Oh,
Rhododendrons.
rhododendrons. Okay, cool. Let's see. Tip number 10. Use just a dab of products.
This is going to be a lot of people are going to freak out about this.
Ooh.
Is
Less
I
is more?
water
You're not going to say
my
less is more, Jenny.
I water my detergent two bottles of water to one bottle. we use very, very little. And not one person ever has ever said, boy, your clothes are dirty, or, you know, you know, if you've ever washed something and then taken it out and put it in the kitchen sink with water and seen how much suds comes out of things.
Mm,
So yeah, I water down everything.
gotcha. I mean, I have been purchasing my soaps from Go Refill in
Yeah,
town, and they say just use a tablespoon or whatever in your
right.
laundry. And I'm like, really? Wow, that's so cool. I saw it on Instagram. Some guy was doing a homemade detergent, and I said, how much of that would you use? He was like, oh, the same amount as you would a regular detergent, like a detergent cup. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
a
lot.
lot of detergent. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's really cool. I like that. And
Yeah,
I also, so we buy our dish soap there as well, and it's super concentrated and you can tell it's really thick. And so it
right,
took a little bit for us to get used to using just a tiny bit.
right. I think there's a learning curve. I think we're used to just glug, 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 glug it
Well, we're so
into,
dirty.
yeah,
We're very
yeah,
dirty. I mean, everything is greasy and dirty and yeah.
yeah,
And then especially with all the germs and illness and stuff, you just want to clean.
right.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a good one. And I love to it's a great icebreaker.
It is a great icebreaker.
How much soap do you use?
Right. Just ask somebody the next time you're in the grocery store.
Oh my gosh. All right, number 11, learn to make simple repairs around the house.
Well, I think even large repairs. I think that YouTube is fantastic. I know that recently you did you get your oven fixed?
We haven't done it yet.
Okay, because I want to come over and do it for you. If you need me, let me know. I can come and do it.
We just have to
Um,
order the part.
right. Is that everything you need to know these days is truly on the internet. And there's some things, of course, that maybe it's a safety issue. And then I'd barter it.
Right,
And I think that that's just really, really important that if you can do it, you do try to do it. And if you can't, you barter with somebody.
right.
Because
Someone's got to be able to do it.
there's always somebody um, that has a skill that you don't, and you have a skill that they don't. Yep.
Absolutely. And it's better to know how to do it. Like, it's better if you know somebody who can do it and you can say, "Can you show me how?" Like,
Yeah.
whether I do it again next time or not, like I just want to see it. I want to see it
Yeah.
done.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm trying to do that with a lot with podcasting too. Like, I'm probably not going to be able to do everything forever, but I want to see it done.
Yeah.
But okay, number 12, learn how to upcycle furniture pieces.
Absolutely.
Oh, you learned this one good.
Yeah. I think it's I built my tiny farm stand. I bought a $4 workbench at an auction. I always take antique doors if they're on the side of the road, and I built a farm stand out of it. We upcycled a old secretary that was found on the side of the road. We made it into a little library, so people could have free reading material over the winter. I think it's important to try not to throw things away, right? Try to repurpose and reuse them in a different, an imaginative way,
Hmm,
you know?
right? Right. And it's not like hmm. It's not like a hoarding thing, like not throwing things away, but like finding creative ways to reuse things. And if you guys were to go to Jenny's place, check out the Tiniest Farmstand in Maine. She will show you around and she will show you her cool projects because she has done an amazing job. She has a chandelier in her barn um, and a beautiful dining room in there. And she has a beautiful dining room in her house, and she has
Thank-
completely redone it, and it's beautiful. And so much of it is upcycled.
Yeah.
All right, number 13, conserve your energy usage or electricity usage.
I think this is a real big one for me, with the recent rise in electricity rates here in the state of Maine. I really have been just trying to think about ways to that I took for granted. I mean, I used to never unplug things. It just seemed like it was, more effort than it was worth. I've always left lighting on is just ambiance in my home. And now we're unplugging things and we are trying to conserve our electric usage wherever we possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Yeah.
Okay. And along the same line, number 14, conserve water usage.
Yep. Get a rain barrel. You know what I mean? It's amazing how fast one large 55-gallon rain barrel will fill up. A half an hour when it's raining outside, coming off your roof, it fills immediately up.
Especially in 2023.
2023, I could have had 100 rain barrels. Yeah.
My gosh. Yeah, and so let's see. So rain barrels, any other? So it says make a habit of taking shorter showers, washing
Mm-hmm.
only full loads of clothes and dishes.
That's like a really great tip for my husband. Because I say that to him. He'll either overload it or underload the washer, right? But before, I used to run the dishwasher every single day, regardless if it was filled or not. Now I'm really mindful. We have all of our appliances are energy savers, so
Mm-hmm.
they're not using that much water. And so those are all real important things to try to keep in mind.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we got a new dishwasher last year, and uh, they're saying now that the newer dishwashers only use like 4 gallons of water
Yeah,
per load, which is
right,
so much less than would use if you were washing by hand.
right,
Like significantly less.
right.
um, Tip number 15, make your own gifts.
Oh, I love making my own gifts. Every year for Christmas, you can go to the thrift shops and like punch bowl glasses. They give them away because nobody drinks punch bowls out of a punch bowl. I always put bulbs in there and wrap them beautifully and give them away as gifts every year. And I just think it's important to look around. We became a culture where we're fast gift buyers. That word fast, when we think about it, doesn't necessarily mean speedy. It means that we're using products and then throwing them away.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to, go to the thrift stores, go to the antique shops, buy things that we can repurpose and upcycle into our homes so people have like really meaningful gifts.
Right. Yeah, I've tried. I've got to get better about like just being more steadfast about it. I've said, I don't want gifts that are just things. If I don't need it, please don't get it for me.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then I have to stick with that too. But some of the options that were suggested here are, cookies in a jar or other baked
Yep.
goods. Yes.
Who wouldn't love that?
Homemade scented candles or soaps. I
Yeah.
made soap today. I'm getting prepared.
Yeah.
Handmade jewelry, knitted items such as a sweater or gloves, or a personalized scrapbook. Wow,
Yeah.
that's sweet. Okay, tip number 16, don't pay for services you can do yourself, which you were just talking about with, oh gosh, learning to do repairs.
Just basic things, even mowing your lawn. I always look at, I love to mow my lawn. I know I'm the only, but I have a riding lawnmower. I put my headphones on. It's just me time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not mowed the lawn. I think I mowed the lawn once in my life.
Oh,
I just don't care. I don't care
yeah.
about it. I don't mind if it's really tall. Of course, I don't love when it's really tall, but I don't care enough to do anything about it. um, but yeah, other things. Let's see. Uh, Fixing leaky faucets, painting a room. I mean, painting a room. There's so much satisfaction
Mm,
if you do a good job.
yeah.
Washing your car. Take off your yard. What? You can also wash your car and take off your yard alone? I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that is either.
Anyway, but you can wash your car.
Yes, absolutely.
Find
For me,
ways.
I never wash my car.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Number 17, find ways to entertain yourself cheaply.
You know, one whole year we made a decision that we were just going to do free entertainment. And we did it with the friends of ours. And literally, we had the best time. We went and saw free plays. We saw reenactments at the, old historical courthouse. We just had a lot of fun. And there's nothing better than having good old fashioned potluck dinners where you can just invite people.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody can, bring a dish. Game nights. There's so many different things that, you can really experience without necessarily spending money.
Right? Yeah, for sure. I mean, and also, there was a picture of card games or, just games in general. Game nights are always fun. Uh, yeah. Or just, I don't know, just like ice cream.
Ice cream socials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stuff like that. Or I don't know. I just love sitting and chatting. It's fun. Um,
Yep.
yes. Number 18, buy reusable products.
Hmm. Cloth napkins. We haven't used paper towels in 20 plus years. Try to use those, things